Hi, I'm Denise Sisson. I'm the Vice President of Sales for ID Technologies. We're going to spend a few moments this morning talking about NSA's commercial solutions for classified and how it'll enable your mission. I'm joined today by three experts. I'd like to introduce the panelists. First of all, Dylan Connor. He's the president of the Archon division of ID Technologies. Welcome, Dylan.
Denise, thanks for having me today.
Glad to have you. And Mike Mace. He's the CTO for the Archon division as well.
Glad to be here, Denise. Thanks a lot.
Great to have you. And last but not least, Chris Thomas. He's the lead architect for the 5G program in Dell Federal Public Sales. Chris, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Denise.
Glad to have you all. So Dylan, let's start with you. Let's start with, first of all, what is NSA's commercial solutions for classified, and why, after honestly 20 years of supporting the federal government, did you choose that area to really innovate?
Denise, it's pretty simple. The commercial solutions for classified program was instantiated to bring commercial scale, commercial reliability, and commercial, most importantly, pricing to classified communications. And as for why now after 15 years, the time's right. The time for enterprise class commercial solutions for classified is here, and that's what we're doing at Archon. We really started from the ground up and built this the way any service provider or enterprise IT shop would, as a scalable, repeatable solution that has deterministic results. No one wants to guess with communications. You don't want to have to do it every time a different way. You want to know it's going to work, and you want to be able to count on your infrastructure. And commercial solutions for classified is, at the end of the day, the communications infrastructure that underpins all of our classified missions.
That's great.
One piece that I want to chime in there on that, right? I think one of the biggest differentiators for Archon is the ease of use, right? Simplifying something that is notionally complex, right? Because it's detail oriented with something that pertains to security. I think that that's one of the biggest differentiators that's been waiting for in the market, right? Can you make this easy for me to rapidly deploy and digest by all of my enterprise IT users?
That's a great point. I mean, certainly not all the users are IT savvy, so making it as easy as possible for them to use and have that most positive user experience is going to be important to making sure that it's adopted. Hey, I would love to just really hear from Chris and Mike. Both of you served in the military. Both of you have been kind of knocking around in the CSfC space for a while. I'd love to just hear how the importance of CSfC and your previous role. CT, can we start with you?
Sure, most definitely. So one of the biggest things when we start thinking about forward deployed operations, being able to do that and quickly establish communications and tear down communications is very critical for our national security community. And from a DoD standpoint, we look at PAC-RENT, right? We have bases in Korea, in Japan. How do I ensure that for classified material and classified communication systems, I can guarantee over the terrestrial network that there's no compromise? The only way to do that today, that we've been doing it traditionally, is with type 1 encryptors. CSfC simplifies that, right? As Dylan pointed out, right? These are COTS, commercial equipment that we're using that allows us to rapidly replace this, mix and match in a modular fashion to accomplish this.
Not only actually provide a solution that won't be compromised in those spaces, but also provide an avenue to be able to talk to our partners. Mike, would you be able to kind of address that piece of it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, Denise. When I was on active duty, a lot of times you would listen to senior leaders talking. They would talk about this idea of the speed of conflict and how important making timely decisions is to that. And with what's going on in the world today, a lot of the talk is starting to become, how do we operationalize this idea of information dominance, especially in multi-domain operations where, the battlefield is no longer just in one place. And, I think solutions like Archon are a critical step to being able to do that and ensuring that these decision makers, have access to the most up to date and accurate information, not only when they need it, though, anywhere they need it, right? And with the speed of conflict only accelerating, it's becoming more and more important, that decision makers are able to make those data-driven decisions as close to real time as possible, and they've got to do it with the utmost of confidence. And I believe technologies such as Archon, 5G, they're going to enable us to maintain information dominance moving forward.
That's a great point. I mean, we're so used to not being able to operate without our phones and that instant access. And when you think about these critical decision makers not having that kind of instant access to that critical data, I mean, it really drives home the power of CSfC. 5G has been a hot topic, and I would just love to continue the conversation to see the power of 5G, the role it plays in the commercial solutions for classified or with the Archon solution. CT, as the leader in that area, would you like to start?
Sure. So one thing to take into account, right, with 5G, 5G is a catalyst technology, right? It encompasses everything that we've been doing in the IT and data center space, and we're seeing that transformation now kind of extend within the telecommunications space. So one thing that we focused on as Dell is working with our partners in the ecosystem, Microsoft, Red Hat, VMware, Nokia, Ericsson, JMA Wireless, you name it, and validating that on our commercial equipment, right, on our Dell hardware platforms, and being able to provide reference architectures for the industry to leverage to be able to deploy private LTE networks. When you start talking about IoT and how you can start to apply some of these CSfC microsegmentation principles for the enterprise, right? If I have sensors, I don't necessarily want that communicating with all of my traditional data center information. So it's really about data-driven decisions and how that data is processed and disseminated out for the warfighter.
And let's just continue. You mentioned sensors, so let's just talk about IoT devices as a whole and what this kind of enables.
Sure. So this enables, from an IoT standpoint, you give an enterprise the ability to now do service-based slicing within the LTE network and segment that traffic in the same way we've discussed doing it within our data center now. So you have that completely isolated from the rest of your IT information and data. Now, applying a CSfC concept to it, I'm now going to be able to do a secure communications platform and gateway as to how that information and who has access to it. So you can even instantiate this into ICAM and other security technology methodologies that we have. And one thing that I've liked about the Archon solution, right, is we're taking security as an intrinsic part of the architecture from the beginning. Right, we're starting with security forefront of the mind, right? So I think that's going to be a huge paradigm shift going forward, and that's been asked as a part of the DoD tranche activities as well. How do we make this happen in a secure fashion?
That's a great point. Dylan, do you want to add anything to that?
I just want to kind of highlight what CT is talking about. I mean, 5G is not a barrier to entry for commercial solutions for classified or for Archon. It's a well understood transport mechanism that actually is further enables these solutions to be deployed. Yeah,
this is clearly an exciting time. I mean, we've heard the phrase "art of the possible," and it's amazing what the art of the possible can bring. When you now talk about the fact that you can bring that critical data, that classified or secure data to those critical decision makers, again, anytime, anywhere in a secure fashion. Very, very powerful stuff. So great, that's all the time we have. I want to thank our panelists.
Thanks, Denise. Thanks for the opportunity and time.
Thanks for having me, Denise.
Denise has been totally awesome. Thank you.
Great to have each of you, and thanks to you for joining us. If you want to learn more about CSfC or the Archon solution, please feel free to visit our website. Have a good day.